Welcome to The Journey, Jodie Tiernan. How are you?
Good, thanks. Thanks, Kylie.
Now, Jodie, you're a very well-known personality in the Albury region, but tell us about your heritage for those who haven't come across you at this stage.
I grew up in Albury, went to Glenroy Public School, and then we moved from Glenroy into town, so then went to Albury High. Just sort of two sisters. My mum was a single mum, and then she met my stepdad, I think, when I was in about year 3. I don't know, just had really good, happy family memory times of us all growing up together. Going to Albury High, I sort of was the only one from my year from my school going to Albury High, so it sort of was a bit of a shock to me, having lots of friends, and was kind of like the school captain at Glenroy Public School, and then going to a massive school at Albury High, and I sort of felt a little bit lost there. But anyway, I got through it all and left school, joined the bank, Commonwealth Bank, and I saved my money, worked at Sweetheart's Pizza for quite a while, saved up, and then I went overseas.
Oh, this journey no doubt continues. Jodie, I feel like we should be sitting here with a cocktail, because that's how a lot of the younger generation would know you.
They do, yeah. Public House Albury. So, yeah, been there 5 years. Was a partner in the business in 2017 when we opened it, and then I bought my business partners out in 2019, so it's been mine ever since, and my family. So we work really hard. My children work there, my partner Chris works there, and Alfie works in the kitchen doing the dishes, although he's just got a job at Monumental, so he's cheering getting out of the family business. And my 2 daughters, Izzy's actually overseas at the minute, and Charlotte's doing a second year of nursing, but they work there part-time to help us out. They get paid, but it's a great business. It's good fun. It's hospitality, which I know and love. And it's just nice to have something nice in Albury that I think create a nice venue, you get nice people, and we've got beautiful people that come in and frequent Public House, and I love it.
Now, when I first met you, you were CEO of Carevan.
I was,
Carevan Foundation.
Yes.
So tell us about that little journey.
So I suppose journey when I was in England, I was running hotels over there, lived over there for about 7 years, moved back to Australia, and then ran a pub in Sydney, a couple of different pubs in Sydney for 7 years, and then moved back to Albury. And I had my 2 young daughters with me, and I sort of thought, I don't know about getting back into the pub game in Albury, but it was nice to be home with family. And so I started volunteering for the Make-A-Wish Foundation because I didn't know anyone anymore. So I moved back to Albury after being away for 15 years. I thought, got this big house but no people in it. Where we lived in Balmain, we had this small little house and everyone frequented and came in, dropped in, and how the kids and all that sort of like had this big house in Albury and didn't have anyone visiting. It was sort of like the kids were going, Mum, where's all the people? Where's our friends? It was quite, I didn't know what to do with myself. So volunteered for the Make-A-Wish, met some mums at the Albury preschool, and from there just sort of moved on to, what did I do? From the Make-A-Wish Foundation, I organised a charity ball, and then sort of got into the fundraising aspect, which I really enjoyed, and being with my kids as well, but didn't bring any money because it was all volunteering, but that was fine. And from there, I think I got a job with the Albury Liquor Accord. And obviously I'd known hospitality before, but my job was to create, organise fundraising events and raise funds for Albury Liquor Accord so that the Accord could actually donate funds to the community of Albury. So I thought, that's cool. So we did the cancer run. What was that called? When you light the candles and go around. It was at Bunton Park. And I got us all to dress as nurses, and we went around.
Relay for Life.
Relay for Life, that was it. We got a team together, and that was good fun. We raised money, and then I got on to wanting to raise funds for Father Chris O'Reilly's Kids Off the Street. What was it called? Listen to me, I can't remember back then. Father Riley's.
It's not the Smith
Youth
Foundation,
Off the Streets.
But
yes. So we did a charity ball for that under the Liquor Accord banner, and Father Chris Riley came down to be guest speaker because the funds were going to him, and we also donated funds in Albury. And I met John Brabant, who was the founder of the Carevan Foundation, and he had this idea, and so we had out of that fundraiser we had money to then actually donate to the Carevan Foundation to try and get it up and running. And I assisted with helping create it with John, going through all the logistics of setting up, getting volunteers, finding out where we could actually put the caravan and open up and then, you know, give food and conversation. And yeah, from there it sort of was a whirlwind of volunteering, working really hard and just meeting so many wonderful people. We ended up having 400 volunteers that we trained up and went out 5 nights a week, which was fantastic. Did the midnight basketball program. So I did that for 4 years, and it was really nice to be with my kids and not have to do all the hospo hours. So I really enjoyed that, and that's when I met you.
And did it open your eyes, the caravan experience for you?
It did, yeah. I loved it. Like, I just, I think for me, everyone's got a story to tell, and I just judgy McJudgies. I don't like people that judge. You don't know what anyone's going through in their life, and I think to stop and listen and look at other people's lives and realise, you know, everyone has got a story to tell, and why should anyone judge anyone? You just shouldn't, and why don't we just try and be kind and help people? So we did, and I was with a sea of beautiful volunteers that were thinking the same as me, and we all just got on with it, and I think we really made a difference. Thanks to John Brabant, you know, he had the idea and had the funds to put up, you know, donate a caravan, and, you know, through working together with lots of volunteers and getting through that red tape of trying to get it out there, we finally did it, and it just grew from there. So it was probably one of my big achievements that I love in lifetime. Thinking back, my kids grew up with Carevan. It taught them compassion, and, you know, my son Alfie, he's 14 now, but he used to come out in the van and meet homeless people, and I'd let him shake their hands, and I don't think that a lot of homeless people would get that contact with anyone because, you know, people would just sort of think, oh, you can't touch him, he's homeless or he's dirty. No, he's actually got a story to tell, and he's had hard luck in his life, and let's just, you know, give him a little bit of compassion, and it just taught them, and I see that through my children, which is really nice.
Sometimes if we don't see it, if we're not around it, we don't understand it, but you threw yourself right in there and you brought people with you, and you talk about the volunteers. Do you ever look back at I guess, the impact that you would have made and those around you in those days, to a lot of those young people and homeless people and young people that might miss out on a few meals because mum and dad just can't afford it?
No, I do, yeah. And sometimes I think I'll see one of my young kids for, like, the Midnight Basketball program. I think that was a program that was already sort of made, but we sort of came in, got the volunteers, and you had to manage it. And I think through Carevan and having all the contacts and that, it's sort of, we run 8 games of basketball, not 8 games of basketball, 8 weeks, twice a year for 2 years, and that was the program where you get kids off the street on a Friday night and you take them to, we did it at PCYC and the basketball stadium, and they would learn life skills. So we'd organise teaching them about sex education or how to cook, or just like all different workshops that we would do, and they'd play games of basketball. So to bring everyone together, and we'd have them bust them in and bust them home. It was called Midnight Basketball because it would finish around midnight and we'd take them home, but it was getting them away from what was going on in their life. And I think that program with all the volunteers there, that showed me how much of an impact we actually did make, because sometimes we'd be dropping kids home, and if it was off pension week or off pay week, you know, everyone, the kids, like the families, would be sleeping. But then sometimes when you'd be dropping them home of pay week, you know, there'd be parties all over the curbside, you know, and you just think, I don't want to take these kids home, I want to bring them back to my house. You couldn't do it. You just try and teach them, but just go straight to bed and just, you know, don't. It was just hard, and you just sort of think, you know, that's their life. Some sort of just got on with it, and others you just think, thank goodness we got to take them away and try and show them a different path. Anyway, getting back to, one of my young kids, she walks past the pub every now and then at the Public House, and she'll come in and tell me how she's doing, and she's had a kid, and, you know, she's a good kid, and she's got on with life, and she goes, I'll always remember you, Jodie, and like Midnight Basketball, and always telling us to, you know, I gave my shoes one time to a kid because he wasn't allowed to play basketball without shoes, and he was in thongs, otherwise he'd have to go home. I said, here, take my shoes. So I wore his thongs, he wore my shoes, and he went to give them back at the end of the night, and they were just wet as anything, and I said, you can keep those shoes. And I just like laughed about it. I thought, like, it was something that he got to not have to go home, but, you know, play 6 games of basketball and have something to eat. And I don't know, I just remember fun times, and the kids they remember, and they come past and they go, hey Jodie, how you going? And if they come in, like, they're old enough now, like, I'll buy them a little drink or something, and they just think their world's like, oh, it's Christmas. But just being kind, I just think, you know, we all breathe the same air. No one is better than anyone else in this world. I just think we should all just be kind and, look after everyone.
Not everyone has that mindset. Was it part of your growing up? Where did that compassion and appreciation for everyone?
I think my mother, she just always, is not a judger, and she just gives out love and kindness. And I think she taught me, the biggest thing she taught me, I suppose, was and the best one, I'll always remember it, the ones that are hardest to love are the ones that need loving the most. And it always stuck with me as a child, and I just sort of think, you're so right, Mum, and in whatever aspect of life that you're in, and whatever people you meet, if they're really sad or down, you just sort of, you know what, that's right, you just give them a little bit, I don't know, and it works, and actually makes your heart feel better by giving back, I think, anyway.
I'm pretty excited to hear about this journey to London as a young woman. Tell us through how that all happened and what were those adventures like?
I sort of was working at the Commonwealth Bank, and we used to drink a lot back then, I suppose. We'd go finish work, go to the Ritz, it was back then, have a few drinks, and I sort of felt there's more to life than Albury and working in a bank. I just didn't know, and I'd work at Sweethearts Pizza. I didn't know. I thought, what can I do? I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to be a nurse because I liked the nurse's uniform back then. I thought, oh yeah, I can be a nurse. That looks really cool. And I thought, I'll save my money and I'll go and travel the world, because Darryl Betteridge, who was owner of Sweethearts Pizza for a lot of years, I think he still works there every now and then, he told me of all his travels. He said, if you'd ever do anything, just go travelling. So I sort of listened to him. He was a good mentor in my lifetime when I was young. I sort of worked off and on there. So I thought, okay, cool, I'll save my money and travel the world. So I saved up, and I think after I worked about 3 years in the bank, and other numerous jobs just to save up, then I just got a ticket and I went to London. And from there, I hadn't worked in pubs before, but I got a job at Soden's Hotel under Pete Smith. Thought I better learn how to pour a beer before I head overseas, just because, Aussies get jobs in pubs, and so that was the thing. I thought, cool, I'll go and learn how to pour a beer. So I worked at Soden's Hotel for, I think it was about 1 month before I left, and learned how to pour a beer. Crash course, yeah, bit of fun there. So that was all right. Went to the UK and got a job at the Holiday Inn in Kensington, so I started to work there. Got promoted, moved upstairs to the posh part. Well, it seemed like the posh part because it was the cocktail bar, so that was my first introduction to cocktails. So I had to learn how to make all these cocktails, and coming from Albury and being young, sort of like cocktails weren't a big thing at all. So I was learning how to make a brandy Alexander, a mojito. I'm like, what are all these things? And I had people from all over the world. I sort of thought, when I got to England or London, I thought people are going to go, wow, listen to that accent. This girl, like, where is she from? You get to England or just anywhere in Europe, and no one cares. There's so many different people over there. You're no one, really. It was just quite funny, sort of coming from a small country town, going over there, and it's like getting to know different people, different accents, and just getting to know about the world. And so I sort of grew up quite quickly, and then worked there, and then I had a sort of moment. What did I do? I loved working there. That was all good. I think I met a gentleman at my sister's wedding, because my sister lived over there. She was getting married, and met this gentleman, and Julie, my middle sister, she goes, don't go near that guy, just don't go near him. I said, oh, okay, no worries. And that was fun, and we were all having a good laugh at Julie's wedding, and he sort of he had a twinkle in his eye, and I thought, oh, I wonder why she said that. Anyway, he was living in a pub, and the girl that was managing the pub, she sort of was a bit of fun as well, and I sort of got to know them. And I'd finished up working at the Holiday Inn. I sort of thought, I don't want to do that anymore. What am I going to do? Julie was running a dental practice, and she said to me, do you want a job? You've always wanted to be a nurse. How about being a dental nurse? And I went, oh, okay, cool, no worries. So the weekend before, I was meant to start on the Monday, and I'd been to this wedding, Julie's wedding. It was all sort of a bit of a whirlwind moment. And Gillian, the lady who was running the pub, she offered me a job. She said, do you want to come be my assistant manager at this pub, which was the White Hart in New Fetter Lane in Holborn? And I just went, I've got a job starting tomorrow morning. This is on a Sunday, tomorrow morning, being a dental nurse. And then one of my Aussie friends that had come over, she just sort of said, I'll take that job, you go and do this. So from the moment that I was...
Sliding doors moment.
Yeah, it was a sliding doors moment. I was like, do I go and do this dental nurse? I don't really want to look in people's mouths just because I want to wear a uniform. That's probably not the reason why. So I took the job at the pub, and by this stage I'd sort of I'd travelled around Europe and stuff, and just kept coming back working, and took the job at the White Hart. And then my visa was kind of, I only got 2 years being an Aussie. I didn't sort of get to be able to stay, and I thought, okay, this is all right. Worked my way up in this pub, and then the area manager sort of said, I'd like to give you your own pub. You're going really well. You could be licensee manager of your own pub. And I just went, oh, that would be really cool, but didn't really tell him that my visa's probably going to run out within the next 6 months. I thought, oh, that's just cool, don't worry about it. So the guy that I was told not to go near, he lived in the pub that I was assistant manager of. And anyway, he just sort of said, well, do you want to kind of just get married? And no, maybe I asked him, I said, should we just get married so I can stay in the country? You can come into the new pub with me because you can live there for free, and we won't really be married, but we'll just get married just so I can stay in the country. So then I get like to stay there an extra couple more years, and then hopefully, get citizenship, whatever it is.
What could possibly go wrong?
Oh, what could go wrong? Well, Jodie just has these moments. So I just went, yeah, cool, that's fine. So I got my own pub. I started running the Punch Bowl in Farm Street, Mayfair. I was the poorest person living in Mayfair, but let me tell you, it was the nicest. It was off Berkeley Square, and when you're a publican, you live upstairs. I've always got like accommodation upstairs. So myself and my husband lived there, so he lived rent free. So that was sort of like a payoff to him. But we were good mates. And anyway, time went on, and I like really built up the sales there, and I got made bonus, and I just loved it. I loved Lady Diana's mum used to live across the road, and she'd come and you'd have the paparazzi saying, here, I'll give you this money, we want to go up to your room and take shots. I said, get away. I just wouldn't let anyone come and I said, just let her go. Yeah, she'd go and visit her stepmom, Rain Spencer, who lived right across the road.
Oh, wow.
So it was such a beautiful area to live. Anyway, so we built up the sales, and then I met somebody that I actually wanted to be with, which wasn't my husband. But that was fun. I just sort of thought, what do I do now? Anyway, I went for another pub to manage, because I'd spent 4 years at the Punch Bowl, so I sort of got to be able to stay in the country. Went home a couple of times to Australia and then came back. And then I met Chris, who is my partner now, and father of my 3 children. We've been together 26 years. And we sort of started to hook up and be together, and Eastie didn't like it, who was my husband, so he wouldn't sign the papers for me to stay there as being it's okay, your visa, you can just sort of stay in England now. So I sort of thought,
so the match was perfect until it wasn't.
Well, kind of thing, yeah. So I remember waking up and I thought, I've got a dentist appointment, going to see my sister because she ran the dentist practice, and I had root canal treatment. I remember my tooth was hurting, my lip was a bit numb, and I'd walked back into my pub, and here were the two bobbies or policemen walked in, and they said, oh, are you Jodie Tiernan? Could you please produce your passport? I was like, oh no. But what do you do? I thought, well, I've done the wrong thing. Okay, so I walked upstairs, got my passport. My area manager had dobbed me in because I was up for like a £30,000 bonus. I'd just romped the sales in this pub, and I thought, oh no. Anyway, what could I do? He handcuffed me, put me in the back of a paddy wagon in front of all my patrons, and it was a money market. Like, I was all right around the money market, so I had lots of good mates that would come in. It was just a 5-day-a-week pub. I had my weekends off, not for much longer. And anyway, I got taken to Bishopsgate Police Station, where I spent a night in a police cell. And like I thought, well, I was licensee, I'd paid my taxes, I hadn't really done anything wrong, but to fight to stay in that country, it was horrific, because after the first night in Bishopsgate Police Station, that was fine. Then they took me to the detention centre near Heathrow, and there, that wasn't very good. It was full of so many people that were pleading political asylum, like it was just crazy. And just the experience there, what they say about immigration detention centres is actually true. It was horrible, and I just felt so sorry for people there. And I thought, I had solicitors saying, you can stay, we'll fight your case, but you have to stay here in the detention centre until we can get you out. And I just thought, I'm not spending a night in here. I spent a day, and I thought, that's it. So I flew home, courtesy of the British government, but I lost everything that I'd ever saved for, and I started again at 26 years of age, back to Australia, and then waited for Chris. He came out 6 months later, and then we've been together ever since.
And what about the original husband? Did you ever bump into him again?
He came to see me at Bishopsgate Police Station, funnily enough, and he goes, oh, I've mucked up, haven't I? I'm so sorry. And I went, that's okay, because you kind of got to look at if that hadn't happened, Chris and I probably would never been together. I wouldn't have my 3 most best achievements of my life, which is Charlotte, Izzy and Alfie.
What a journey.
I know.
You should write a book about this.
Funny you should say that. Yeah, I'm actually writing a book about my life because I think it's quite interesting, but just the people I've met. I met Jack Nicholson. He bought me a packet of cigarettes back in the day.
Hold the phone.
In my pub in Mayfair. I used to go to do the banking, and I'd walk past this cigar shop, and in the cigar shop in the window there was a photo of always a photo of Mel Gibson and Jack Nicholson buying cigars, and I used to go in and used to smoke back then. Consulate menthol, used to smoke, like, just get them for the weekend. And I mean, I was 22, like, not very old, and as old as I am now. And I'd go through, and on a Friday I'd go into the bank and I'd just get one packet of cigarettes for the weekend, and I'd go in, and the two brothers owned the business, and I'd say, you just fib, you've never had anyone famous in this, in your business. And we just used to laugh. He goes, hey Jodie, how you going, whatever. And then one morning I walked past, I was going to do the banking, and I walked in, I said, packet of Consulate menthol, and this gentleman turned around, and he was in this big black long jacket. It was winter time, and it was in London, and it was in Mount Street, so in Mayfair, and he just turned around and said, get her a packet of more menthol, which is a long brown skinny posh cigarette, which I didn't know back then. And I turned around and I just went, you're and I was just being so, and it was Jack Nicholson, and he'd bought me a packet of cigarettes, and they boys were laughing because they must have, like, teed him up and said she doesn't think anyone famous comes in here. So that was my claim to fame. And I got back to the pub, I said, we're never opening these cigarettes, like, this is like, look at what happened. And that night we all had a few drinks, and I gave them all out to everyone because there's 20 in a pack, and we all lit them at the same time, and here's to Jack Nicholson. So yeah, we've had lots of fun along the way.
Geez, it doesn't get more famous than him, I would imagine.
He's pretty cool.
Are there more famous people or other famous
I've
people?
had dinner with the Prime Minister, Kevin Rudd, and his wife, Theresa Rain, who was a very interesting lady. That was when I was with Carevan. That was really a lovely dinner we had in Sydney with John Brabant when I was with Carevan. I learned a lot about... Kevin was pretty cool, and his wife was just amazing because she ran the Harvest, which is getting food to lots of people on the streets and stuff. And so it was kind of like what we were doing in Albury. So she was just an amazing woman. I look back and think, I really thought she was, wonderful. That was good fun, having dinner with the Prime Minister and his wife. But yeah, I don't know. I think... I'd love to have a dinner with my grandmother because she used to cook for me all the time. I'd sort of go and live, she lived 2 doors up, I'd go and live with my grandma, I'd come back down, have a fight with my sisters and go back up and stay with them. And she cooked me dinner all the time. She passed away when I was only 18, so I'd love to cook her dinner, and I would have loved for her to meet my children. She was a very special lady in my life.
Yeah, I reckon nanas are.
They are,
When you reflect and you meet a lot of people, when they look back at some of their role models, it often is. And in many ways, you feel you appreciate them at the time, but sometimes it's not until they're passed.
I know, exactly, yeah. She just had, she was amazing. And my grandpa, but I just sort of think, Ma, if you were only here now, but she taught me a lot of things. It was, I think, anyway.
No, I love it. I guess you've had achievements along the way. Do you rank them? I guess your children are up there, and career is important, but for you, do you look back at some of the things you've achieved and get quite proud of yourself?
One of the big ones was when I was with Carevan, creating the Kids Cooking and Caring program, because that still runs today. And it was, when I was CEO, we were getting donations from the SSNA Club, and they were donating food every night. So we'd go and pick up some soups or casseroles, and we'd take it out to, the spots that we'd have to feed the homeless people, or disadvantaged, less advantaged, just people that needed a heads up. And I sort of thought we needed money. How are we going to, we've got food, but we kind of need money to pay things. We had rent down at our depot, and so I sort of thought, well, how can we come up with an idea that would help not only people in the community, but get more people involved. So I sort of thought, back when I was at school, Year 9, it was you sort of hormones and things are going everywhere. Year 9's a good year for people to sort of look back and go, let's do something positive for the community. And I sort of thought working with the schools would be a good way for them to cook and then create these meals, and then actually take them out to people and show them that life isn't all about them, and look what happens, and just creating them a sense of oh wow, this is something that would make them feel good that they've done something positive. So that I sort of did up a little booklet and sort of put it forward to the board of Carevan, and then they sort of, yep, cool, and then we took it to the schools. And the first school I started up with was Catholic College in Wodonga. Fiona Barrett was the teacher at the time, and we just got on with it and did it, and she was amazing and just so positive, and we just did it, and it took off. And so then we instilled it into all the schools around the region. And yeah, the schools just took it on, and they still do it today, which is such a great thing for Carevan because it's a win-win situation. They get the food, you know, they get to take it out, and yeah, and then other funds can be spent in other ways. Therefore, you know, whatever club is sponsoring Carevan or donating the money, they can donate money, not food, and the money goes towards paying bills. And yeah, that was a big achievement, I think, and I love to look back and go, well, I was part of that. So that was, yeah, it's a good achievement to look back on.
As you should be mighty proud of that. Yeah. The disappointments in life, or the toughest decisions you've had to make.
The hardest thing, I suppose, when I got back into hospo, Alfie, my son, was just starting school. He was in kindergarten. He was 5, and just getting in and working really hard, like hospo, the hours, you don't have weekends anymore.
The old mother's guilt, eh?
It's lots. Yeah, I do feel that. And, you know, your friends, your family, it's just like, oh, weekends are not weekends. Like, I work 7 days a week for a very long time. But once I get into a job, I just get into, and I work really hard, and I want to achieve what I want to achieve. And I think when COVID happened, it sort of stopped me from, wow, hang on a minute, let's just reassess things. And I just bought the business at the end of December 2019 outright, and then COVID hit in March, and I was 7 days a week, didn't stop, and COVID sort of stopped us. And I thought, what's going to happen? I'm going to lose the pub. Like, it was very daunting, but we just sort of came together as a family, and it was a bit of a like wow moment that family is what's most important. And we spent such wonderful times doing jigsaw puzzles, playing games, and just being together. And so now I trade 5 days a week. I shop Monday, Tuesdays, it's family time. Monday's book work and wages and everything else. And Tuesday's always family night in our house. We always have family dinner. And just stopping and, you know, looking back for the week and go, okay, I've got 2 days off. And in hospo, it was never heard of. But I think COVID actually changed that. And people just go, well, why do we have to work so hard? Like, I don't live a luxurious life. I'm not really that bothered about money. Don't tell my bank manager that, but I don't. I just want to have a nice life, and I just want to provide a good business model that people can, you know, come in and enjoy themselves. And through my cocktails, my stories of cocktails, I think it's working. And me having 2 days per week is working. The old turning 50 actually does slow you down, and it's nice to stop and just reflect and have those special family times and make memories. So that sort of is a moment that I look back and think, well, I can make up for not being there now because I'm going to be there now. Yeah.
Great story. Thanks for sharing. Now, stories of cocktails. Now, this is linked to the book, is that right?
It is linked to the book, yeah. I sort of, I came up with all these different cocktails because I wanted to make Public House, like how could Public House stand out? And I'd been to London in May 2019 because my sister turned 50, and I just wanted to go and see her and just see how she was travelling. She lived over in the UK, she still does. Sherry, who I miss dearly, but she's over there, married, 2 children. And I went over to see her, and cocktails were taking off, and I thought, well, want to bring something back to Public House, what can make it? You always got to look for something different, think outside the box. What else? What's something that we can do that no one else is doing? And I saw these cocktail trees, and I thought, these cocktail trees are amazing, 12 cocktails on a tree. I thought, where do I get them? So I ordered cocktail trees to come to Australia and come out, and I thought, well, no one's got them in Australia. I can do this and better create some cocktails. So I thought, through my journey of cocktails, most important people in my life is my family. So I came up with all these different cocktails in the namesakes of my family. So I've got sister signature cocktails. I've got my dad had 3 different litters or 3 different marriages, so there's 6 sisters from there. So I've got the sister signature cocktails. My mum she's synonymous in our family and friend circle for making the best pavlovas. So her cocktail is called Joy to the World. Her middle name is Joy, so it's J-O-I, spelled J-O-I. So mum's cocktail is Joy to the World, and it tastes like pavlova. And Chris's cocktail, his is called Mr. T's Grand Hotel B, and it's got Jägermeister, Bombay Sapphire, which is his favourite gin, and Martini Rosso, and that's put together. It's pretty potent, but when we lived in England, we went away for a weekend to Brighton together in the UK, and we stayed at the Grand Hotel in Brighton. So Mr. T's Grand Hotel B, the namesake of his cocktail. First time we'd ever tried Jägermeister. We just had a shot of it back in, when was it? 1995 maybe. Jägermeister wasn't a big thing. There wasn't Jaeger bombs or anything like that. But so I put Jägermeister in his drink with the Bombay Sapphire. So that was his cocktail. We drank it there. It was a good memory of mine that I can share in the book, because there's a bit more of a story that goes with that. But just giving the name, and then through my book it will explain the reason why it was called that and the story behind it, because it's quite some funny moments in my lifetime that will be shared in the book. My daughters Charlotte, Louise and Isabella Rose, well, Charlotte's is called a Charlotte's Empress. She's not a drinker. She's been brought up in pubs but doesn't really like it that much, so hers has got vodka, Chambord, fresh lemon juice, egg white and grapefruit Monin, and hers is a beautiful pink flavoured pink cocktail with got berries on the bottom, and Isabella's is a purple one with berries, and hers has got the pink the butterfly pea flower, and hers is based with gin. So the sister cocktails look alike, they're just different colours, and one's gin based, one's vodka based. So there's a story behind there. Little Alfie Towner is his drink, and then it just goes through the rest of the family. Then it's got my nieces and nephews, which we're starting to through the cocktail trees, because I've got the trees. It'll be through the family tree, so that's sort of how the book will go. But there's lots of fun stories that I'll be telling, but I'm honest anyway, it doesn't matter. Like sometimes people go, do your children know that you've been deported? I went, well, I wasn't actually deported, I was sort of like asked to leave, but yeah, kind of, and my children know everything, so it's a lesson in life, or it was an experience, and why not share it with people, because I think it's quite funny, but it's a journey, isn't it? Life's a journey, and
it is a journey.
It is a journey, and my most beautiful people, like I think my 3 achievements were my children, are my children. I think it was the start of a brand new love affair, each one of them, and I'm just so proud of them. But to be able to name a cocktail after them, and I thought, actually, I've got nieces and nephews, and it just kept growing. So from there, 49 cocktails later, Public House is known for all of our cocktails. They come in, and I can I probably stand at the cocktail station on a Saturday from midday when we open till virtually midnight when we shut, making and shaking cocktails, and it works. But I love it, and I wouldn't be anywhere else.
A lot of lightness and joy in your life. Has there been sadness as well?
Yeah, there's been sad times. I suppose my dad passed away. Dennis Tiernan, you probably would have known him. It was a bit of he used to run the Albury Airport for a long time. That was a moment where it brought all of the sisters together, and he was a man that obviously had lots of children, but from that we've just got so close, and I think having our sisters, we all catch up. Like that's what Dad did. He brought us all together, so that was really nice. My grandparents was very sad when they passed away, because I used to live with them a lot. Well, just go up and stay with them. I just loved being around them. But I don't know. I just don't like to be sad. I like to be in a happy environment, which is hospitality. I like to look at people's lives, and I get a kick out of watching them enjoying themselves and making memories. Public House doesn't have any pokies, it doesn't have gambling, doesn't even have the football on the TV. You come and you sit down and you make conversation, and you sit in an environment that's I think it's made for that, and you watch people in life, and you listen to this. I love people's stories, and I listen to them and like, oh, how are you going, and just hearing things about their life, and I just watching them enjoy it over a drink or a cocktail. Even if someone's passed away and they have a wake, they're still celebrating someone's life. So although it's a sad time, it'll actually turn into a nice time where they're just remembering good memories. And I think if you can provide that venue for the people to be able to make those memories, it makes me, I think it's a good thing.
That's a wonderful thing. Looking back on you've sort of many more years to go, but when you look back, any advice or anything you'd tell your younger self now? I mean, it sounded like...
Drink more water. Drink lots more water. I try. And just be kinder to yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself, I think. And it doesn't matter what anyone thinks, as long as you hold your head up high and you do the right thing. I don't know. I think my children used to come home and say, Mum, this one said this and that one said that. And I said, look, just don't say anything. I said, when people carry on, it's not you. If you've done something wrong, hold your hand up and apologise and say, yep, okay, it was me. But if you haven't, hold your head up high. Don't worry about anyone else, what they think of you. If you're doing the right thing, hold your head up high and just be honest and be kind, and life's okay. Like, you'll get through it. It'll be all right.
So life's going good. The kids are great. Husband's going well.
Yeah.
Business is booming. What's the next chapter? What's the next part of Jodie Tiernan's story, do you think?
I don't know. I think I've got a good 5 years at Public still. And in that time, I'll finish my book, hopefully. And I went to Arnhem Land this year, actually, with Isabella for her 18th birthday. We sort of went up on a Paying It Forward trip. And I was in an Indigenous community there, First Nations community, and I just loved it. It brought me back to being at, when I was with Midnight Basketball, being with lots of the kids there, and we stayed in Gapwiak, and we helped out in the school, and we were with a lot of the kids there, and the headmaster of the school, he said, we need someone like you. Would you like to sort of come and get a job here and help like motivate the kids to come to school? And because I just like, I don't know, I just felt that it was, I got along with all the kids really well. It was just heartwarming. I thought, wrong place, wrong time. Love to do it though. So maybe, I don't know, Chris and I might just, when the kids, I don't know, Alf is he's in year 9, so he's got, a few years left at school. But maybe we might just like get in a caravan and go around Australia and visit some of these spots and help out in communities, because that would probably fill my cup.
And I think that's where I saw you shine too, with the Carevan.
Yeah.
We met you there and just talking to the young Indigenous kids and just engaging with them. And I don't know, you were like a magnet. They were just all over you. It was just beautiful to see.
Yeah. I don't know. And it does fill my heart. Like, I just think they're good kids, and you just, I don't know, just sort of giving a bit of a bit more education, I suppose, and just showing them, come to school, like, and I think that I'd be able to talk them into it. So,
or out of it. How were you at school?
Yeah. Well, true that, but well,
if your teachers are listening now, would
I
they be
know.
proud?
I remember being presenting the Kids Cooking and Caring program certificates to Albury High School. So I was back in my school on stage. And there was a big sea of red. They were all in their red school jumpers. And I thought, if only you knew, when I was in year 11, I was actually asked to leave because I had non-attendance and thought that I knew it all. But, things change, and didn't go to university. I think I went to the University of Life. And that's where I, was taught when I travelled. That was the University of Life, like teaching, learning things, always learning things, and never making the same mistake again.
You've already met, by the sounds of it, so many amazing people in your short time here. But if you had to invite 3 people for some cocktails, and a dinner party, who would you like to have?
One would be my grandmother, as I said, but I'd cook for her. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I'd love to have her come, and she would be absolutely amazing.
So she's the American Supreme Court.
She passed away. Yes, she is, and she was
the chief judge or some high up.
Yeah, she was absolutely amazing. She was so into looking after women, and the way like 9 judges should have been in that court. Like, she just didn't want to stop until she got more women into it. But she would be amazing, but she's not here anymore. That's so okay. I'd love to have her.
Have the magic wand.
It would be amazing. Yeah, and I think Julia Gillard, I'd like to listen to a lot of her stories. With my grandmother and Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Okay, Julia Gillard, interesting one. I think in reflection, people often look back and realise what an amazing woman she was. Perhaps at the time, maybe not appreciated. Is that your
correct.
take?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think being a woman in a very male-dominated industry, which is hospitality, I kind of just think, I've got on with it, and but there's been lots of stuff along the way, and I think, I just don't even go there, Jodie. Don't even worry about it. Just get on with it. Do your job. And I just think Julia Gillard, she did a bloody good job. And not that I'm either with politics. I'd listen, and I don't say a lot, but I just think her story is very interesting, and I'd love to hear more of it.
Sounds like a great plan. Plans for the weekend? Obviously,
cocktails. Shaking.
So when you do have a weekend off, where might you go?
Sydney. I obviously lived in Sydney for 7 years. I like to go back and go to some nice restaurants, see what's happening up there, and just catch up with my good friends in Sydney.
Jodie Tiernan, it's been an absolute delight chatting to you. Thanks so much for sharing your story, and I can't wait for this cocktail book to come out.
Thank you. Cheers.